In today's video, we are going to be looking at my squad and looking at the transfers that I've done. There has been so much business this season that I've decided we're going to come back now just after the transfer window has closed and just recap what has happened and look at the squads as a whole. That means looking at the A team, the B team and the under 18s. Now I think it's a good way to refresh us, to get to know some of the players maybe you haven't seen or have kind of snuck under the radar through the youth team, etc. And also there's just so many transfers to go through in and out that I think it is important this kind of episode, so the end of season review can focus more on the competition side of things and not just 20 minutes of transfers. Now, can I start by saying I didn't plan on spending so much money, I didn't plan on earning so much money, but sometimes things just happen. So I'm just covering my back there before people kick off at me. We have 141 million in the bank, by the way, and 69 million left to spend, and about 700k in wage budget. So we still could massively improve the team, but step by step, you know, let's not go crazy now. Now, I did make a coffee ready for this extra video I'm recording, so I'm going to sip along to this as we record. But let's start by looking at a couple of players who have negotiated to come in at the end of the season. So we have a central defender here, Diego Leiva, from Isidro, for £400,000, Ecuador. He's 17 years old, being capped 6 times by Ecuador. Very good, very decent central defender, coming in for 400k. I think it's a no-brainer for him. Coming in for 50k from one of our feeder clubs is David Polarisson. I feel like I nailed it. Again, central defender. You will start to notice a pattern here that we have a lot of defenders. But coming in, I think he's a decent player. Not a world beater, he is only 15. So there's a big chance he could develop massively. So he's going to join us at the end of the season as well. Then also from River Plate in Paraguay, a attacking midfielder who's 17 years old and again has a lot of potential, and I think he could develop into a very decent player. So all three of these will come in and go straight into our under 18s for next season. So now to the transfers in and out. 51 million spent, 60 million brought in. So you already had seen up to here. The rest of the players above happened on the start of season video. So let's work our way through the outs. So 3 players going out to our feeder club, Kappa, in Finland, which was confirmed after the last video, but I did mention in the last video. So we have Esbjerg in Denmark, we have Kappa in Finland, and we have Halmstad in Sweden. So Gaty has gone out on loan to them. Our striker, 18 years old, decent player. I think getting him the first team football this season can be very useful. You can see he has picked up 16 goals so far this season for them as well. And then we have our attacking midfielder from Cameroon, who we paid 120k for, has gone out on loan and is playing a lot of games for them as well. A Florentine, we're going to go with because I can't pronounce his last name. Simple as that. And then also Garda has also gone to Kappa as well, another striker whose contract is running out and is leaving us at the end of the season. He's going to Finland to play for Håkan. But this season he's started 9 games for our feeder club and done fairly well. Just curiosity, where are they? They are second here it must be the second tier, is it? Yeah. So they are second in the second tier. So how does this work? Promotion group stage. Yeah, so they're doing fairly well. And hopefully we can give them some players next year and hopefully make this a fairly successful team. I like the idea that we're loaning out a lot of players to clubs now around Scandinavia as well. The rest of the loan deals will actually pop through quickly because when we look at our youth team and B team, we'll obviously look at them players as well. So to a few teams in our league, Murisan, Jerhus, Nattestad and Johansson have all gone on loan to teams in our league. Now a couple of sales to mention. Edgar Gonzalez, our attacking midfielder from Paraguay. He was only with us for one season total, maybe 1.5. 350k we paid for him. He had a season to dream of for the first half of this season. playing 14, scoring 9 with 8 assists. We end up selling for 8.5 million plus 50% of next sale. And I think that's an insane bit of business for someone who's run with us for that short time. Now, the next sale is one I really didn't want to do, but Tenneber has left. Now, the unfortunate thing was just his attitude. Cardiff came in, put in a small bid, I rejected it. He then went crazy, demanding I wanted to leave. Did miss training as well. So we ended up selling for 8.5 million plus 50% of next sale. And you can see he's got a value of exactly 20 million at the minute, which would mean it would bag us another 10 million if they sold him on. So I'm fairly pleased with that. The next player to leave is Diego. Came in and played for our B team. We paid 25k for him. Played for our B team for a couple of years and then ended up selling him for 1 million up front. I think if we go down, it works out 1 million up front, rising to 1.3 with 50% of next sale. So we might get a bit more money from him as well. The next out is very, very disappointing. Michael Meng. Michael Meng has left the club for 9.5 million plus 50% of next sale. Now, he was with us for such a long time. Look at how long he was with us. 2.8 million we paid for him in 2036. And 8 years later, well, nearly 9 years later, he's moved on for 9.5 million to go and play for Cardiff City. The next player going out was Lazovski. I wonder how many YouTubers edit when they're trying to pronounce a name. We just leave it in. Just leave it in. Well, we sold this Belarusian guy. We paid $1 million for him. He was with us for a year and a half, 2 years. Ended up selling for 3 million plus 50% of the next sale. So again, good bit of profit on him. To be honest with you, we were starting to get a bit too many foreign players in. So we ended up just letting him go because of that. One of our young attacking mids in Lakjuni has gone to our feeder club, Kappa, as well. Just wanted some football, and in this club we could guarantee him football, so he's gone to them. Tom Collins, one of the young signings we'll look at, has gone on loan to Esbjerg for the season. Asol Jacobson, one of our young goalkeepers, he was never going to be good enough to play for us, I don't think. He's gone to KI. They came in for him. As soon as they came in, asked, do you know what, we'll let you have him. Basola has left us. Never cemented that first team spot. Never. He's so good attribute wise, but just never looked amazing. Well, we paid 150k for him, and we sold him for 4 million plus 50% of next sale. So again, we could end up cashing in massively on him, but he's gone to Rennes. Santoro has gone to Esbjerg. We'll look at him as well. Randy Olberg we've sold to FC Michelin for 600k plus 50% of next sale. He was never going to be good enough for our first team. The only reason I was holding on to hope was because he came through the academy. But we've ended up letting him go just so he can get first team football. Hopefully he plays for Michelin because in the long run it is going to benefit the national team. And the final sale for 8.5 million rising to 9.5 plus 50% of next sale. Zoega has left us, the young Icelandic. Now, after Linnerud left to play right back, we said Zoega would come in and be our new right back. Well, he came to me and said, I'm going to explore my options at the end of my contract, which only had a year and a half left. I said, if you're going to do that, we're probably going to have to let you go. And he said, fine, I'll go then. Hand in transfer request. Normally they don't do that. They just go, okay. He hands in transfer request. We sold him 9.5 million total fee. It's going to be, so I think it's like $1 million after 5 games or something. And then, yeah, 50% of next sale. So we could end up cashing him massively if they do sell him on. So, the ins. And we have made some big ins. You can see there's a £24 million signing in here as well. Which you're going to have to wait to see. So, first off, John Nolser. One of our national team players has come in to be one of our wingers. Really like him. He's always performs for the national team. Attribute-wise isn't the best, but performance-wise I feel like he will offer something good. Comes in fairly high price of 3.5 million, but being a Faroe Islands player just means that we're not using up foreign slots, etc. Atanas Christoph. basically Bulgarian with how I'm pronouncing these. Very decent defender, naturally a left back it is, but for me, naturally a central defender. Very decent, 6'4", comes in for 750k. I think there's profit there. I think there's definitely a chance to flip him if he doesn't ever get into the first team. But I think he's a decent player. He's been playing for our youth team mainly, 13 games, only one game for our B team. Now the next player, Marco Santoro, picked up for a free transfer from Italy, from Inter. Not the world's best. We were short of wingers. I was looking for wingers to bring in over this summer window, and he has a bit of potential. I brought him in to play for our B team. Esbjerg came in, asked if they could have him on loan for the season, and I thought, you know what, take him on loan because he's not going to be knocking on the door this year, but I just want to see if he develops. If he doesn't, we might make 100k on him, we might make 150, I don't know, but there's definitely profit in him. Definitely profit in him. So the next player is one of the players who we shipped straight out on loan, is Andre Murasan, a German central defender, 6'5". I mean, I am very excited for people to put in the comments, you have too many defenders. Completely agree. Wait till we go through our squads. But decent enough, cost us nothing. He's on loan in the league. My thinking with this guy is, couple of years playing for clubs within the league, maybe one of them buys him, and then we've brought in a good quality player to the division. So the next signing basically covers the same thing, brought in with the idea that in the long run he will play for another club in the Faroe Islands. Tom Collins, a right winger, German, cost us nothing again from Bayer Leverkusen. A decent winger. To be fair, he's not bad. Attribute wise, he's not bad. Only 18. He's gone on loan to Denmark, to Esbjerg for now. I don't mind loaning people to Denmark if I can then send them back for another year, because after 2 years, I think they get nationality. I'm sure it's something like that. I might be completely wrong. Denmark, no, it's actually quite high. Okay, forget about what I said. But just forget about it. So the next player we did look at earlier in the last episode, Stefano Peluso, agreed to come in on a free transfer from Juventus. Just a very talented player. Says he's naturally a striker. For me, it's in central midfield is where we're going to be using him, and I think he could do a very good job. I mean, there's a lot more to go through. Alman is the next one. £50,000 from Kristiansand. Is a goalkeeper, 18 years old. Danish, even though he was picked up from Norway, and honestly, I think he could be a decent keeper. I think he was definitely worth the punt of 50k to see how he develops in our youth teams. I don't think it's a bad signing, I really don't. Holger Orlander is a central midfielder from Sweden. We picked him up from Hammarby for 2.1 million. 18 years old, and again I think he could develop into something special. 18 passing, 12 first touch, 9 dribbling isn't bad, technique 17, decent mentals, very good physicals as well. A lot on the down at the minute, but let's look positive and ignore that, shall we? And the next one is Per Pedersen, who is another goalkeeper, 22 years old, brought in to be the goalkeeper in the B team. Could do an option as a backup for the first team as well. I don't think he's a bad keeper at all. Picked up for free transfer. I think you can't go wrong. Honestly, I'm fairly pleased with that signing. The next free transfer is an absolute stellar one. What is with all these down arrows? Do you know, all season the arrows are up. You start recording a video, down. Leif Goldsack, Newcastle Academy player, I think he was. Yeah, he was. Newcastle Academy player. Defensive mid-stroke central mid. Very talented. Really like his mentals. Technically decent. Physically not bad. 22 years old. Very high value now. 1.8 to 3.8 million. We paid nothing for him. So, again, I think if he doesn't develop and do well, we're going to make profit on him. And that's a good thing, if anything. The next signing is Paul Rowlands. Comes into play for our under-18s again. I'm going to shock you. It's another central defender. He's a decent central defender. I see him more long-term as a halfback. He's only 5'10". But for 1.5 million, I think it was a punt I wanted to make on this kid. We've really struggled to bring in English people in the past, so it's nice that our reputation is now meaning we can go to clubs like Bournemouth and pick up a few academy players who they actually had high hopes for. So the next player, Ezequiel Juarez, is a central midfielder from Argentina, and he is in our under-18s. This guy was brought into our depth to our under-18s. A lot of players were brought into our depth to our youth teams, and if they develop, they develop. If they don't develop, they don't develop. But I guess you're starting to see why this is an extra video now with this amount of transfers. But a decent centre midfielder, to be honest, definitely good quality. If he doesn't develop too well, I hope he stays in the nation. This is, again, bringing in players who long-term might move to other clubs within our nation. So the next signing is a right winger we picked up. Rotterud comes in, and I think we might have unearthed a gem here. He's played a few games for us, 2 in the Champions League, 2 in the league. Scored 2 goals in the league, getting an assist in the Champions League. Very good personality, good physicals, good technicals, very good mentals. I think after losing our other right winger, I think we've replaced him with an absolute gem here. 18 years old. I mean, I'm honestly really, really pleased. When we lost Teneber, I honestly was a bit concerned, but I'm just delighted with bringing in Rotterud. So the next one is our £24 million sign, who only cost us 12 million, because we already had a 50% next sale on Mark Quadson. Mark Quadson has come back, and wow. He's had a couple of years at West Ham where he's been training and developing insanely. Comes in on only £25,000 a week, valued at 50 million now. So we paid 1.4 million from Sunyiska. He was with us for a few years, sold him for 15. We've signed him back now for 24. We only had to pay 12. I think the couple of years of West Ham has just helped him develop into an even better player, just from training with a club like that. But wow. That is, when we lost Michael Meng, I thought we were a bit weaker in defence now. We're going to have to bring up one of the youngsters. Mark Quadson, I hope, can be the stalwart in defence, which basically means someone's going to come in a year, put in a bid, and he's going to want to leave. But for now, we can hope he's going to be the stalwart in the team. Hopefully. So the next signing is it's another defender. Another central defender, Alexandro Silva, comes in. I've actually been trying to sign him for over 2 seasons, since he was 16 years old. We finally negotiated 1.4 million. He is wanted by Bromby to go on loan. I actually offered him Esbjerg. He wanted to go, failed the work permit, so he's staying in our B team for now, but really, really talented. I think he could be the defender alongside Mark Quadson in a couple of years' time. A few of our signs have poor personalities. I need to actually get them into the first team squad so we can mentor them and get that out of them. I don't like the fact you have to have them in the first team to mentor them with players from in your first team. I think that's a bit stupid, but we're going to get that done. 2 signings to go. So for 5 million, we brought in a new defensive midfielder stroke central defender, 6'3". Hansen, 18 years old from Norway, paid 5 million, valued up to 9.2. Again, I'm just trying to add depth. Again, I'm adding depth to players who can play for our B team and youth team as well. I think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player. And finally, comes in as our new right back after losing Zoenga. Obviously, we had to look for a new right back. 22 years old from Denmark. Comes in from Bromby for 2 million. He's not a world beater, but he is a very solid central defender. Very solid right back. Calm down, Paul, and do this properly. So that's all of our ins. That's all of our out. 60 million received. 51 million spent. 141 million left in the bank. So we can spend big. I'm not sure if we need to. We're going to start on our under-18s. We're going to go through the teams now and just get you up to date with who we have and what we have. Well, I mean, what we have is players. Who we have is what you want to know. So we're going to do like this. So start with our goalkeepers. We have 2 goalkeepers in the under-18s. We have Alman, who we picked up for 50k, who I do think has potential. And then we also have a young 16-year-old as well, who isn't the worst. I honestly think could develop into a player who plays for another team in our league or in the second tier. Currently playing right wing back. We maybe need to assess how our coach is doing a job here. In terms of defenders, then we have Natterstad, who's out on loan at Scala at the minute. Isn't a bad right back. Don't think he's going to be good enough for us, but will go off to another club in the league. Then we have Hansen here, whose contract is running out and he's going to be leaving us at the end of the year, out on loan at the minute. Then you have Shert Hansen, who is one of our central defenders, who has another year left on his contract. We will let him leave at the end of that. Then we have the young German, who's obviously out on loan at, I never know how to say this, Suuroy. Nailed it. He's decent. I think he's definitely going to be good enough for our B team long term. Is he going to be good enough for our first team? I don't think so, but we paid nothing. My hope is he goes to another club in our division and stays in the nation. You have that Paul Rowlands, who's one of the central defenders here. Hasn't been with us long, so maybe we'll keep developing. Well, I hope. Another player here who can play left back stroke centre back is another academy player in Laritzen. A decent player, better than some of the others, but again, I think he will end up dropping another club within our league. Then you have Shvitsov, who again I think could develop into a very good central defender at the height of 6'4" as well. If he keeps improving, we need to get that personality fixed. If he keeps improving, he could be a great player. Then you have Jakob Jonsson, who is 22 now and should be in our B team, not in our under-18s. Is on loan at Esbjerg this season. I think he has a lot of potential. I think next year I would like to have him as a backup in the first team. He's only got 1 year left on his contract, but we can fix that. Very talented player. Came through the academy as well. Then you have Craig Ebanks, who is on loan at Vesta. Has been with us for a couple of years. And again, with him, he was always signed with the idea of just developing into a player who will stay in the Faroe Islands and play for another club in the Faroe Islands. So moving on to our midfielders here for the under-18s. Rasmussen is a player who has a couple years left on his contract, only 16 years old, is a decent player. Is he going to develop? I'm not sure, but he's definitely a very talented player. You have Tom Collins, who we've looked at on loan at Esbjerg. Hopefully will develop into a player who signs for a KI or Vikingur Goethe and can help them develop and get better. You have Holger Olander, who we looked at and is in our under-18s. A few years ago, this guy would be knocking on the door of the first team, so that shows how far we've come. But going to get football in the under-18s. Next year, we'll move in our B team, and then hopefully the year after that, we'll come up into the first team. You have Foda Diallo, 18 years old, very talented. Not scored many goals though, only 7 goals in 26 games so far for the under-18s. I think next year I would like to send him out on loan. I don't know who to, maybe over to Finland, I'm not sure, but we'll see what we can do with that. You have Juarez, Ezekiel, it's been a long day, Ezekiel Juarez. Should manage in England on FM24, just so I can say the names. I think he's going to develop well. Like I say, he's going to be in our B team next year. See how he does. Maybe he'll become B team regular. He's the type of player I could imagine staying in the B team for years. Johansson, whose contract is run now, we're not going to renew. He is on loan in the league this year, and he's not done well. He's not done well. Peder Pedersen, 17 years old, is a decent striker, to be honest with you. Does have another year left on his contract. I hope we can loan him out to a club within our league next year and just see how he develops. And then you have Kabongo, who's on loan at B36. Couple of years left on his contract. Is a decent striker, only 17 years old. Been playing regular in the top flight this season. And then finally, we have the strikers to look at, and there's only a few of them to look at, so we've looked at a few of them. So you have Per Thompson, who we picked up from Esbjerg for 500k. He's 17 years old, so he's going to get next season in our under-18s as well. He's decent. He's honestly decent. I think he could develop well if we can just fix these personalities of people. Personalities are an issue at the minute. And then you have Sigvardsson, who is a fairly decent striker. 41 goals for our youth team as well this year. Shows he definitely knows where the back of the net is. So now we've looked at the under-18s, let's have a look at the B teams. We've got 4 goalkeepers in our B team at the minute. You've got Per Pedersen, who we looked at, we picked up on a free transfer. does have a lot of potential. You've got Alex Lervig, whose contract is running out. We paid 400k from KI a good few years ago now, 2039. He was signed with the only idea of just helping KI by giving them money. So, contract is running out, we are going to let him go. You have a Josvein Lervig, who came through our academy, who might become the first choice in the B team next year. I'm not sure if it'll be him or Pedersen, not my choice. Decent enough player, came through the academy, so probably I'm going to try to keep him around, alongside Silas Heinsen, who also came through the academy, but we are going to let him go. Contract is running out, and I do hope he will move to another club within our league. So defenders-wise, then we have Kovac at right back, who is 21 years old. Contract actually ran out last year, is still training with us. I kind of hoped someone would come and pick him up, but they haven't. He is playing games for our B team, so I'm just letting him hang around, to be honest with you. You have Faroe Gutterson, our academy player, is leaving us at the end of the year. The good thing is he's going to one of our feeder clubs. He's going to Esbjerg for next season. So 30 years old now, has been with us since 2030. 2030, so 14 seasons he's been with us. But he is leaving at the end of this year, going to Esbjerg after a year in Sweden at another feeder club. You have Michael Madsen, who's been on loan at KI now for 2 seasons. Wow. Like, he is just developing and developing. 21 years old now, and next year, I think he will be one of our first choice central defenders. He just, mentally and physically, he's just a class above. He really is. Really pleased looking at him. You have Ruben Clement, who is on loan at KI as well, and also is a insanely talented central defender. 18 years old. I actually think next season I'm going to try to send him back to KI again. Give him another season at KI. Let him come back a year older and hopefully even better. But we have some talent in central defence. You have Hugin Cruz, who is a young player. Contract is running out and we are going to let him go. Now, Arne Millenstind. He has become the first choice right back for the national team, and I actually think he's playing quite well in that position, and to the extent where next season, when we have Champions League games, in the league games in between, he could potentially be our right back backup as well as the central defence backup. So 6 foot, we paid $2.5 million for him. Again, that was to help EB, if you remember. We just gave them way too much money to try to assist them to financially improve. He's a Vikingur this year on loan, doing well. 18 games he's played so far. I have hope for them, and it's nice that I have players out on loan who I do believe can come back. You have this Alexandro Silva, who I just have a lot of hope for. Maybe when Madsen comes back next year, we send Silva to KI, if they are willing to take him. You have Lervang, who is now 25 years old, 13 caps for the Faroe Islands since he became a Faroe Islands national team player. Paid $2.5 million for him in 2037. So he's been with us quite a long time now, and he's very much a B team regular, but I like him. He's still a decent player to have on the team. You have Okarinen, who I did give a new contract to, 23 years old, Finland international now. We paid nothing for him. He's been with us since 2038, so 6 years now. And how many games for the first team has he played? He's not played a single game ever for the first team. He's on loan in Finland now, but when he comes back, he will be in and around the first team next year. Maybe he's only a backup, but he is going to be in there. Mohamed Sene, we've had a couple of offers from him over the summer, but I've held on to him. I do have hope he could do well. He's only 19. We paid nothing for him. He came through the Aspire Academy. And I just want to keep a close eye on him and see how he can develop. Jacob Johnson, we've already looked at because he was playing for the B team. Sorry, he was in the under-18s. That's weird. This Nazeza, who we paid $325k for, I think might be the biggest waste of money we've ever spent. But he's sitting in our B team. He's playing games. He's doing a job. Let's be nice to him, shall we? So let's have a look at the if I remove them, yeah. Let's have a look at the midfielders, and we start with Marius Pettersson. Now, this is the guy I paid 5 million from Vålerenga for. I've sent on loan to Halmstad just to get some actual first team football this season. He's played 9 games. He wouldn't have played that many for me this year. But next season, with his mentals and physicals, he's the perfect player to have on the bench when you want to see a game out. He's going to work his arse off for you. So next year he's going to be in and around the first team. Johan Rafnesson came through the academy and will be getting released at the end of the season. Axel Abdi picked up for 1.4 million. Few years left on his contract, has never developed how I hoped he would. Went on loan to Esbjerg last season and played 31 games, but he didn't want to go back this year, which is sad because I do think another year on loan might have helped and benefited him massively. Müller Christensen, 21 years old, again came through the academy. Contract ran out last year and again is just kind of hanging around. I'm just letting players train with us. If you want to train, you train. And then you have Anton Olsen, came through the academy again. Contract is run now, and again I'm going to let him go because we've just got so many players coming through who can play in them positions. We don't need him. And we've got a lot of players coming back off loan as well. Okay, so we have Berit Sinani, who is a winger from Finland. We paid 2.2 million for him a couple of years ago now. 2042 we picked him up. He's been on loan at Vikingur for the last 2 years now. And is developing fairly well. I'm fairly pleased with how he's looking. Then we have Lakjuni, our central midfielder stroke winger who came through the academy, who I just want to see develop and get better and better. He's gone on loan to get football in Finland this year, but I do think he could keep pushing on. We have our young Latvian winger who finished, if you remember, a few years ago in 2041, finished in the best 11 under 18s or something or whatever it was. So I picked him up and he's done alright. He's played 21 games in the top flight of the Norwegian league this year. So he's definitely developing into a player who could feature next year. We have Paul Thompson. Contract ran out, hanging around. We've already looked at Florentine, who is out on loan, 18 years old, on loan in Finland. I do think he could develop in something special. Only 120k spent. Christensen, contract is run out, and again, even though he looks decent, I'm going to let him go and hopefully he gets football elsewhere. I'll skip them too because we looked at them before. Debas, contract is run out, and again, I'm going to let him go. Gardeber has a few years left on his contract because I do think this guy has potential. I'm hoping he continues to develop. He is scoring and getting assists for the B team this year as well. Frederiksberg, one of our young attackers, not played much football but is a decent player. And then the final three we've looked at, Eduardo is suffering a very long-term injury at the minute. On loan at Esbjerg, is going to be out for, I think it's a good 6 months, is it? 5 to 8 weeks left. Okay, I thought it was a major injury. I must be thinking someone else. But let's just go to the strikers, and then we are almost done with our B team. So there's only 2 strikers to look at. Martin Jonsson, who was in and around our first team, has scored 11 goals in 22 for the A team, has 18 in 23 for the B team, is our national team striker, or one of them. I just think he's decent. He's only 19 still. And then you have Kazim Eksi, who has played 9 games for the youth team at Halmstad, scoring 7 goals, but only 1 appearance for the first team, which it's a bit disappointing when you give them a player and they don't really use him. So moving on to our current first team then. So we're going to do the same again. Let's just look at our goalkeepers first. So we have Mortensen, who is with us till the end of next season. Could he have a final year where he's our first choice keeper next year? Potentially. 116 caps for the Faroe Islands now. Because Mungsgaard, going back to Watford at the end of this year, they do not want to extend his loan. They want to give him a chance in the first team. So unfortunately, he will not be with us next year. In terms of defenders then, our new first choice right back, Christensen, hopefully can do well. Mark Quadson being our new first choice central defender is just, I'm so chuffed to have him in. Alongside Henriksen, who as well is developing into a very, very solid 20-year-old central defender. We have Thomas Shea, who's been in and around the first team as well. Mentally isn't the world's greatest central defender, or technically, but just does a really good job. Rasmus Schmidt does want to leave. He does only have another year and a bit left on his contract. 29 years old now. He's been with us since 2034, so 10 years he's been with us on and off. Did obviously leave the club for a year. Lervang we've already looked at, 25 years old. Ingolson now is developing well, 23 years old. Been with us now for 3 seasons. I just think he's a very solid backup, and you can see here he's played defensive midfield 9 times, central defence 4 times, and right back twice. So he is used in many positions. Mohamed Al-Zawari is just a solid central midfielder, 20 years old still, so he's still young. 18 times he's played central mid for us this year, right back 7 times, and defensive mid 1. So again, very versatile and has been used in that way. Hansen has not yet played for us, but come in obviously for 5 million. And then you have Henry Hansen, our left back, is 28 years old now, 86 caps for the national team. Obviously did leave us for a couple of years, but in general has been with us since 2032. And then you have Nylander, who is one of our right backs now, obviously picked up last season after me trying to sign him for the last 3 seasons. So looking at our midfield, then we're going to start with Gonzalez, who teams are sniffing around him again now, which is a bit annoying. But 22 years old now, obviously signed him for 2 years, left us for 2 years, now has been back. This is his 2nd year being back, just very solid. Christiansen, Faroe Islands national player now, 25 years old, has been with us for 6 years. And he's honestly just a very, very solid central midfielder. Goldstack we've looked at. Rotterud, the winger, we've looked at. Eran Mishan, 28 years old now. Still, by the way, still awaiting paperwork to become a Faroe Islands national player. I don't think it's ever going to come at this point. Been with the club since 2036. Signed for $1.5 million. He has played 187 league games, scoring 78 goals and 59 assists. Agustin Munoz, who, if you remember, we signed at the start of this season, has been really, really solid. 13 games in attack and mid, 11 from central mid. He's just been a good player. Aged only 18, I honestly can't say a bad word about him. John Nolse, the right winger we've looked at. Now, this is a bit of a redemption story. Jostein Rigasetta, obviously, was with us 2038. We signed him. In 2039, I shipped him out because he had a really bad attitude when he complained about something. Since then, he has really impressed. Last year, I dropped him into our B team, and this year he scored 19 in 19. So I said, you know what, you can come back up to our first team and see if you can do the job there. Since coming back up in our first team, 3 starts in the league, 2 goals, 3 assists. A redemption story. We all love a redemption story. Peluso we've looked at. Little Skara, Midskogen and Sundstrom we'll look at with the attackers, I think. So let's just look at our attackers then, shall we? So Little Skara has signed a new contract. Some clubs were after him. So he signed a new 3-year deal, $77,000 a week, but we have the money. I decided to bite the bullet because he has 48 goals this season in 28 starts, and it's going to take him up to the age of 32, and that means I think we're going to get the best 3 years out of him. We're going to get the best 3 years. Look at this, 20 games in the league, 30 goals. 30 in all competition, 50 goals. He's just on fire this season. Alongside on the left wing, Midskogen is now wanted by some clubs constantly, but he never complains when I reject the deals. Never. And he is becoming an assist king. 98 assists now in his career, 165 goals. Signed in 2034, so he's been with us 10 years now. And you can see he's having his best season ever with 18 assists already this season. He's just insane. Sundstrom has been capped by Sweden now, which is the most annoying thing ever because I actually wanted to cap him myself. But Oskar Sundstrom is still hanging around, been with us now, I think he's been with us for 9 seasons now. 9 seasons he's been with us, and he's just ticking along. And then the only player who's a natural striker is Tove Bjornhag, 25 years old now. He's done well as well. 4 starts, 9 goals. When you look at it, he came back for 1 million, scored 11 in 16 games. 11 starts this season, 6 goals in the league. 9 in all competition this season, 20 in all competition last season. He's a great backup for Little Scarra. If Little Scarra's tired or I need to rest him, Bjorn Hag coming in as our backup striker just offers something special. It really does. But this might be our longest video of the whole series. 43 minutes I've been recording, and it's just a player update. It's an update video so you guys can see all the players we have in the squad at the minute. So join me tomorrow when this goes out, and we will have the end of season review. I've been Paul, also known as the Northman. I'm going back to work.